Hello everyone, welcome to our channel of TJ Comments and Answers. I hope all of you are doing well. In this video, we are going to analyze and answer the questions from this week's Watchtower Study. This corresponds to the week of December 8th to 14th and is titled, Jehovah is our greatest joy. Without further ado, let's begin. Let's look at questions 1 and 2, Part A. How do many people feel today? Many people today feel sad, empty, and without lasting happiness. Additional comments. We are living in the last days, and the Bible says they are critical times hard to deal with. This explains why, although people search for happiness in many things, it usually ends up being superficial and temporary. Pressures, suffering, and uncertainty make many feel emotionally drained and hopeless. This situation can also affect Jehovah's servants, who are not exempt from these struggles. Let's look at questions 1 and 2, Part B. What will we see in this article? The article will explain what things can take away our joy and how to recover it, beginning with recognizing who the true source of happiness is. Additional comments. Before talking about how to recover joy, it is essential to remember that true happiness has a spiritual origin. Jehovah is the one who can give us joy that does not depend on our circumstances. That's why the article invites us first to focus on Him and then on the causes that could rob us of joy. Doing so helps us strengthen our relationship with Jehovah and receive the happiness that only He can give. Let's go to the first subtitle. Who can give us true happiness? Let's look at question 3. What does creation teach us about Jehovah? See also the pictures. Jehovah shows that He is a happy and loving God by giving us a creation full of beauty and things we can enjoy. He wants us to be happy and to enjoy life thanks to all He has made for us. Additional comments. The variety of colors, foods, and amusing creatures reflects that Jehovah is happy, and wants us to be happy too. Everything we see was created with purpose and affection. When we enjoy nature, we are receiving small reminders of the love and kindness of our Creator. Jehovah prepared the earth as a perfect home for us, showing that His love for humanity is real and deep. His interest in our happiness is evident even in simple things like a beautiful landscape or an animal that makes us laugh. He wants us to live with gratitude and constant awareness of His care. Let's look at question 4, Part A. Why is Jehovah happy despite all the suffering He sees in the world? Jehovah remains happy because He knows that the suffering in the world is temporary and that He will soon eliminate it completely. Additional comments. 1 Timothy 1:11 calls Him the happy God, which shows that even though He sees all the suffering in this world, He does not lose His joy. He knows the future and knows that pain has an end. That certainty in the fulfillment of His purpose is what sustains His happiness. Jehovah focuses on the outcome, a world full of peace and true happiness. Let's look at question 4, Part B. What does Jehovah do for us? Jehovah supports us emotionally and gives us true joy, guiding us toward the happiness that comes from being close to Him. Additional comments. According to Psalm 16:11, Jehovah is the source of complete joy. This shows that He not only thinks about our future happiness but already offers us peace and emotional support right now. By feeling His guidance and care, we have the strength to face difficulties. He wants us to enjoy a close relationship with Him that makes us happy even during hard times. Let's look at questions 5 and 6. Why is Jesus happy? Jesus is happy because He reflects Jehovah's qualities perfectly, has spent all eternity at Jehovah's side, and enjoys always doing His Father's will, which gives Him Jehovah's approval and favor. Additional comments. Colossians 1:15 shows that Jesus is the image of the invisible God, meaning He reflects exactly the love, kindness, and happiness of His Father. This makes Him the happiest person after Jehovah. And as 1 Timothy 6 verse 15 indicates, His position is unique and privileged. Having always been close to the source of true happiness fills His existence with joy. Proverbs 8:30-31 describes Jesus deeply enjoying doing Jehovah's will since creation. This is confirmed in John 8 verse 29, where Jesus says He always does what pleases His Father. That obedience gives Him the greatest satisfaction possible. And in Matthew 3 verse 17, Jehovah openly expresses His approval, which further strengthens Jesus' happiness. Let's look at question 7. What must we do to feel truly happy? To feel truly happy, we must draw closer to Jehovah, imitate Him, and do His will, knowing that we have His approval even during difficult or sad moments. Additional comments. Psalm 33:12 shows that true happiness comes from being part of the people who have Jehovah's approval. This gives us deep joy that does not depend on circumstances. By learning more about Him and following His will, we gain stable and lasting happiness because it comes directly from the Creator of joy. Psalm 103:14 reminds us that Jehovah knows we are imperfect and understands our emotional struggles. So feeling sadness or depression does not mean we have lost His approval. On the contrary, He stays close and helps us regain joy. His compassion allows us to keep going with hope and confidence in His love. Let's move to the second subtitle, Don't Let Anything Rob You of Joy. Let's look at question 8. How can life's problems affect us? Serious problems such as illness, persecution, or loss can take away our joy and wear us down emotionally and physically, especially when we cannot do anything to change them. Additional comments. Proverbs 15:13 explains that a troubled heart can crush the spirit, showing that suffering can seriously affect our emotions. When we face trials that seem impossible to resolve, sadness can become overwhelming. Jehovah understands that pain and knows how much it affects us. That's why He does not blame us when our joy weakens. Life's blows can come one after another, as happened to Babish, leaving a sense of loneliness and exhaustion. Although these problems are inevitable in this system, Jehovah provides strength to endure them. He does not expect us to be strong all the time. He recognizes our limitations and is ready to support us when suffering becomes too heavy. Let's look at question 9. What can we do to regain joy? We can regain joy by being realistic about our circumstances, being grateful for the good things we have, and trusting that Jehovah is at our side and will help us. Additional comments. Jeremiah 29. 4-7, 10 shows that although the exiled Jews were living in very tough conditions, Jehovah asked them to face it with a positive attitude and to keep moving forward. This teaches that happiness does not depend on everything being perfect. Sometimes accepting reality and doing the best we can is what helps us recover joy. Psalm 63. 7 highlights that Jehovah cares for those who trust in Him and remains their constant support. Remembering His presence helps us not to sink under difficulties. Being grateful for Jehovah's love and for the help we receive motivates us to maintain joy, just as Effie does despite her situation. Let's look at question 10. Why can we maintain joy even when we have problems? We can maintain joy even with problems because our happiness does not depend on circumstances but on Jehovah's promises and His constant support. Additional comments. Psalm 126. 5 speaks of those who sow with tears, but later reap with joy. This shows that suffering does not eliminate the possibility of being happy. Jehovah assures us that current pain is temporary and that joy will eventually win. That hope allows us to smile even when life gets difficult. Jehovah's promises sustain us and give us peace in the midst of distress. He does not ask us to ignore the pain. As Maria mentioned, we can cry and express what we feel. But by remembering that Jehovah will soon erase our problems just as the sea erases footprints, we feel a joy that trials cannot extinguish. Let's look at question number 11. How does the example of the Apostle Paul encourage you? Paul's example encourages me because, although he faced many difficulties, he remained faithful, and that showed that Jehovah approved of him. This reminds me that my problems do not mean Jehovah has stopped loving me. Additional comments. Acts 9:15 shows that Jesus gave Paul a very important assignment, yet he still lived a life full of trials, as detailed in 2 Corinthians 11:23-27. This teaches us that problems are not a sign that Jehovah has distanced Himself. Rather, serving God faithfully can bring challenges but also the assurance that He supports us. Romans 5:3-5 explains that enduring faithfully strengthens hope and shows that Jehovah's love is with us. Paul did not feel abandoned in his trials but supported by God. Likewise, if we keep going despite difficulties, we can be sure Jehovah approves of us and is with us. Let's look at question number 12. Why could unmet expectations rob us of joy? Unmet expectations can rob us of joy when we set goals that do not match our reality and then feel frustrated or discouraged when we fail to reach them. Additional comments. Proverbs 13:12 says that hope deferred makes the heart sick, showing that when we look forward to something and it does not happen, the sadness can be deep. Even when our goals are good and spiritual, if they are unrealistic, they can end up discouraging us instead of strengthening us. That is why we need to adjust our expectations with humility and balance. Proverbs 17:22 reminds us that a joyful heart brings good health, but a discouraged spirit affects our strength. When our circumstances change, as happened to Holly, we may feel disappointed for not doing what we wanted. At such times, it is vital to focus on what we can do for Jehovah and remember that He cares more about our intent than the amount we accomplish. Let's look at question number 13. If our circumstances do not allow us to do as much as we would like, what goals are still within reach? If our circumstances limit us, we can set goals that are within reach, such as displaying beautiful qualities, encouraging others, and helping our brothers in different ways, knowing that Jehovah values who we are more than how much we do. Additional comments. Micah 6:8 shows that Jehovah wants us to be modest and faithful, not to do more than we can. He focuses on our inner qualities and the motivation behind our service. Remembering this helps us avoid comparing ourselves with others or demanding more of ourselves than Jehovah expects. 1 Corinthians 4:2 highlights that Jehovah values faithfulness even when our circumstances limit us. We can focus on small but meaningful goals, such as encouraging a brother or supporting someone in need. Jehovah blesses any humble and sincere effort, and very soon, He will allow us to do much more in the new world. Let's look at question number 14. What else can rob us of joy? Another thing that can rob us of joy is focusing only on ourselves and our desires, because we will never feel satisfied and will end up feeling even sadder and emptier. Additional comments. Proverbs 15:13 reminds us that a distressed heart can lose its joy, and focusing only on our desires can cause exactly that. The world promotes the idea that happiness comes from pleasures and personal whims, but that constant pursuit leads to dissatisfaction. Jehovah created us to enjoy life, yes, but also to seek a deeper happiness that does not depend on material things. Ecclesiastes 5:10 teaches that whoever loves riches never feels satisfied. That is what happens when we put the self at the center. We always want more, and nothing truly fills us. As Eva said, focusing solely on oneself leaves a void. On the other hand, helping others and focusing on Jehovah strengthens lasting joy. Let's look at question number 15. What does what happened to King Solomon teach us? What happened to Solomon teaches us that focusing on personal desires and material pleasures does not bring true happiness, but disappointment and emptiness. Additional comments. Ecclesiastes 1:8 shows that although Solomon tried everything that brought him pleasure, he never felt satisfied. Seeking fun and luxury may look appealing, but it always leaves you wanting more. Happiness based only on personal desires is unstable and disappears quickly. Ecclesiastes 2:1-11 explains that Solomon had access to everything one could imagine, riches, celebrations, and the best material life of his time. Even so, he concluded that it was all vanity, emptiness. This shows that the world's pleasures are like counterfeit money. They look valuable, but they have no power to bring true happiness. Let's look at question number 16. If we want to feel truly happy, what should we do? We will be happy if we do things for others, because giving, helping, and encouraging those in need fills us with satisfaction and allows us to feel Jehovah's support and approval. Additional comments. Acts 20:35 teaches that, there is more happiness in giving than in receiving, showing that true joy comes when we focus on the well-being of others. When we listen, comfort, or support those who are suffering, our own sadness lessens. That attitude allows us to personally experience the joy that Jesus described. Proverbs 11:25 says that, the one who refreshes others will himself be refreshed. When we encourage someone, reminding them that Jehovah cares for them, we also feel comforted. Being an instrument in Jehovah's hands gives us deep happiness that selfishness can never offer. Let's look at question number 17. If we want to feel truly happy, what should we do? To be truly happy, we must draw closer to Jehovah, because He is our greatest joy, and only He can give us true and lasting happiness. Additional comments. At times we may feel sadness or worry about many things, but if we strengthen our relationship with Jehovah through prayer and study, He gives us peace and reminds us that we are not alone. When we make Jehovah the center of our life, we learn to see our circumstances differently. And that closeness to Him is what guarantees happiness now and forever. Now we will answer the review questions titled, What would you answer? Question 1. Why are Jehovah and Jesus happy? Jehovah is happy because He is the source of all good and enjoys seeing His creatures happy as well, and Jesus is happy because He stays very close to His Father, does His will, and rejoices to see people benefit from the work He carries out. Question 2. What 3 thieves can steal our joy? Our joy can be affected by 3 thieves. Poor decisions that bring painful consequences. Unmet expectations that discourage us when we want to do more than we can, and focusing only on ourselves, because living only for our desires never fills the heart. Question 3. What can we do to regain joy? We can regain joy if we focus again on Jehovah as our greatest source of happiness and look for opportunities to do good to others, because giving, encouraging, and supporting our brothers fills us with peace and helps us feel that Jehovah is using us for something valuable. Well, these have been the answers for this week's Watchtower study. I hope they are very helpful to you, my dear brothers and sisters. We will see each other next week with a new video. I send you a warm hug, and may Jehovah bless and protect you always.